Hello, everybody. My name is Eric D. Johnson, also known BrightShine, right here in the city of Memphis, in the county, Sheriff, state of Tennessee. Date is Sunday morning, October the 8th, 2023, and the time is 9:06 a.m. First, I'm going to say thank you to my family, my support for your continued courage support, continue to keep myself employed in the Memphis tri-state area, continue to further my education, moral college online, continue to pursue my social reach, study, be administrator, concentrate the market, the prayer time, take a break, going to school in the very near future. I will be going back to moral college online, continue to pursue my social reach, study, be administrator, concentrate the market. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm starting my Facebook Live. Hello, everybody. My name is Eric D. Johnson, also known as BrightShine, right here in the city of Memphis, in the county, Sheriff, state of Tennessee. Date is Sunday morning, October the 8th, 2023, and the time is 9:07 a.m. First, I'm going to say thank you to my family, my support, for you to continue to support, continue to keep myself employed in the Memphis tri-state area, and continue to further my education, moral college online, continue to pursue my social reach, study, be administrator, concentrate the market, prayer time, took a break, going to school, no very many street. I'm going to go back to moral college online, continue to pursue my social reach, study, be administration, concentrate the market. Now, what you see in front of you, anti-gang, anti-Gnostic, anti-hazing. Also, adversus Iracid, translated mean against heresy. Saint Irenaeus, the Bishop of Lyons, together with Saint Ignatius, the Bishop of Antioch, they wrote a 5-volume book titled Adversus Iracid, translated mean against heresy, refuting Gnosticism, proving that Gnosticism was a heresy. Also, Saint Athanasius, the Bishop of Alexandria, in the year 367 AD, in his 39th festal letter, Easter letter, banned all non-Christian writing. Meaning, the Gnostic theologians that were doing all that Gnostic writing, Saint Athanasius, Bishop of Alexandria, together with all the other bishops in the Catholic Church, and went around and collected all that Gnostic theologian writing and destroyed a person or persons. Took some copies of that Gnostic theologian writing, wrapped it in some papyrus paper, and put it in a jar and buried it in Nagmire, Egypt. In 1945, a little farm boy was outside playing. And while he was outside playing, he found the jar that Gnostic theologian writing was buried in. He gave what he had found to his father, who was a farmer, and eventually the scholars at the college and university around the world, the sororities and the fraternities at the college and university, found out about it. And they've been using and misusing the Nagmire Library like they've been using and misusing all that Western esotericism and Western mystical tradition to victimize men, women, and children, being self-destructive and destructive, going around destroying wildlife, nature, and the environment, including the North and South Pole. Now they're trying to go out in space. Also, Saint Epiphanius of Salome, the Bishop of Cyprus, wrote a 3-volume book titled Panarian Greek, Panarian Latin, translated mean bread basket. Scholars have also said that Saint Epiphanius of Salome, Bishop of Cyprus, 3-volume book is also Adversus Iracid, against heresy. Now, esoteric and exoteric. Esoteric. Break it down to syllables. Esoteric. Esoteric. Break it down to syllables. Esoteric. Exoteric. Break it down to syllables. Exoteric. Exoteric. Break it down to syllables. Exoteric. Rejecting knowledge. Rejecting knowledge. Rejecting knowledge. Rejecting knowledge. The almighty Vice Lord, Folk Corner Hustler. The almighty Black Prince Stone. The almighty Black Disciple, Poppy. The almighty Mickey Cobra, Cracker. The almighty Bluefin, Black Disciple. The Lord Stone Disciples, 7-Eleven, G Killer, Gangster Disciple Killer, GDK, Glaze Donut Killer. The history of the city of Chicago. Very important. The dirty sheets and the wailing sheepers will never be forgotten. They didn't do anything wrong. In general, all human beings. But unfortunately, regrettably, human beings do acts that are wrong. They say things that are wrong. Don't tell the truth. And so all this rejected knowledge and all this stuff about God and the devil, you know, it creates all this, you know, make each and every person like we enemies, you know. And that's really not true. It's really false. It's a lie. But it's important. The history of the city of Chicago is important. Should have never been no supreme gangster. Should have never been nothing like that. Should have never been. Should have never ever got away this long. Trying to use Western esotericism, Western mystery tradition, and that Nagamon library that the little farm boy in 1945 found. You don't get away with that. You don't get away with doing that. See, it's important what you teach and how you teach. What you teach and how you teach. It's important. See, being Vice Lord, being affiliated, being associated with Vice Lord. Like I said, it's important. The dirty sheets and the wailing sheepers didn't do anything wrong. Conservative Vice Lord Incorporated, it is coming back. Like I said, no content. That's the reason why. Bootstrap Incorporated is coming back. It's coming back. Slowly but surely, it's coming back. gonna do my reading. And you know, you can go to BibleStudyTools.com. They have all available versions of the Holy Bible. And you can also go to BibleGateway.com, that's where I'm going to go now. Bible Gateway. And then when you go to the English, like I said, I'm on BibleGateway.com. When you go to the English, they have all available versions of the Holy Bible in English. And the Common English Bible has the Apocrypha. The Dewey Rings 1899 American Edition has the Apocrypha. Let me see. The Good News Translation, that's what I usually read, the Good News Translation. It has the Apocrypha. The New Revised Standard Version Anglicized has the Apocrypha. And the New Revised Standard Version Updated Edition has the Apocrypha. And the Revised Standard Version has the Apocrypha. And the Wycliffe Bible has the Apocrypha. So let me go to the Good News Translation of the Holy Bible. It has the Apocrypha. And I'm going to read Sirach. Now, last time I read Sirach, I read chapter 35, verses 1 through 20. So today I'm going to read Sirach. Sirach chapter 36. Verses 1 through, what's the last verses? 26. The last verse is 26. 1 through 26. Okay, in verses 1 through 17 is titled A Prayer for Israel. And it reads, O Lord God of the universe, look upon us and have mercy. Make every nation stand in fear of you. Take action against the foreign nations and let them witness your power. You have used us to show them how holy you are. Now use them to show us how great you are. Let them learn, as we have learned, that there is no God, O Lord, but you. Give new signs, perform new miracles, show us your glorious strength. Bring on that appointed time when everyone can talk about the great things you do. Pour out your furious, flaming anger, and let none of our enemies survive. Destroy those who have oppressed your people. Crush all those enemy rulers who think they are the only people in the world who matter. Gather the tribes of Israel together again and give them back their land as you gave it to them long ago. Lord, have mercy on Israel, the people who are known by your name, whom you call your firstborn son. Take pity on Jerusalem, your holy city, where you chose to stay. Fill your temple on Mount Zion with your glory and with hymns of praise. Testify for your people, whom you created in the beginning. Fulfill the prophecies that have been spoken in your name. Reward those who have put their faith in you and vindicate your prophets. You have always been gracious to your people. Listen to your servants as we pray. Then everyone on earth will recognize that you are the Lord, the God of the ages. Now verses 18 through 26 is titled, Choosing a Wife. Any kind of food can be eaten, but some foods are better than others. And just as the tongue can distinguish the flavors of different kinds of meat, so a sharp mind can detect lies. A person with a warped mind causes trouble, but an experienced person knows how to pay it back. A woman has to take any man as a husband, but a man must choose his wife carefully. A woman's beauty makes a man happy. There is no fairer sight for the human eye to see. If the woman is kind and gentle in her speech, her husband is the most fortunate of men. When a man marries, he gets the finest thing he will ever have, a wife to help and encourage him. If property is not fenced in, thieves will wander in and help themselves. And if a man has no wife, he is a sign wanderer. People have no more trust in a homeless person who sleeps in a different place every night than they have in a wandering thief who goes from town to town. So I just read verses 1 through 26, chapter 26 of Sirach. And I was reading from the Good News translation of the Holy Bible. Now I was reading from BibleGateway.com. And like I said, you can also go to BibleStudyTools.com. And they have all the available versions of the Holy Bible. Now I'm going to go to Adversus Heresies. I'm going to have to go to www.earlychristianwriting. .com. www.earlychristianwritings.com. And then when you go there, then click Church Fathers. And then when you click Church Fathers, scroll down to where you see Irenaeus Alliance. And all 5 books, Adversus Heresies against heresy is there. All 5 books. So click number 1. Book number 1. Last time I read book number 1, I read chapter 30, verse 2. Book number 1, I read what? Chapter 30. So I'm gonna continue in verse chapter 30, book number 1, and verse heresies against heresies, chapter 30, and its title, Doctrines of the Ophites and Sethians. Like I said, I read verse number 2 last time. Read verse number 3. Verse number 3. They teach, however, that the power which proceeded from the woman by ebullition, being besprinkled with light, fell downward from the place occupied by its progenitors, yet possessing by its own will that besprinkling of light. And it they call Sinistra, Pruniscus, and Sophia, as well as Masculo feminine, this being in its simplicity descended into the waters while they were yet in a state of immobility, and imparted motion to them also wantonly, acting upon them even to their lowest depths, and assumed from them a body. For they affirmed that all things rushed towards and clung to that sprinkling of light, and began it all around, unless it had possessed that, it would perhaps have been totally absorbed in and overwhelmed by material substance, being therefore bound down by a body which was composed of matter and greatly burdened by it. This power regretted the course it had followed, and made an attempt to escape from the waters and ascend to its mother. It could not effect this, however, on account of the weight of the body lying over and around it, but feeling very ill at ease, it endeavored at least to conceal that light which came from above, fearing lest it too might be injured by the inferior elements, as had happened to itself. And when it had received power from that besprinkling of light which it possessed, it sprang back again and was borne aloft, and being on high, it extended itself, covered a portion of space, and formed this visible heaven out of its body, yet remained under the heaven which it made, as still possessing the form of a watery body. But when it had conceived a desire for the light above, and had received power by all things, it laid down this body, and was freed from it, this body which they speak of that power as having thrown off, they call a female from a female. So I just read verse number 3, and I just read chapter 30, titled Doctrines of the Ophites and Sethians. And I just read book number 1, titled Adversity of Heresies Against Heresies. So click number 2. Book number 2, Adversity of Heresies Against Heresies. Last time I read chapter 31. Verse number 2. Okay. Now, like I said, I read chapter 31, verse number 2 last time I read. So I'm going to read today chapter 31, verse number 3. And chapter 31 is titled Recapitulation and Application of the Foregoing Arguments. And it reads, Since, therefore, there exists among them error and misleading influence, and magical illusions are impiously wrought in the sight of men, but in the church sympathy and compassion and steadfastness and truth for the aid and encouragement of mankind are not only displayed without fee or reward, but we ourselves lay out for the benefit of others our own means, inasmuch as those who are cured very frequently do not possess the things which they require. they receive them from us, since such is the case. These men are in this way undoubtedly proved to be utter aliens from the divine nature. The beneficence of God, the beneficence of God and all spiritual excellence, but they are altogether full of deceit of every kind, apostate inspiration, demoniacal working, and the phantasm of idolatry, and are in reality the predecessors of that dragon who, by means of a deception of the same kind, will with his tail cause a third part of the stars to fall from their place, and will cast them down to the earth. It behooves us to flee from them as we would from him, and the greater the display with which they are said to perform their marvels, the more carefully should we watch them, as having been endowed with a greater spirit of wickedness. If anyone will consider the prophecy referred to and the daily practices of these men, he will find that their manner of acting is one and the same with the demons. So I just read verse number 3 from chapter 31, titled Recapitulation and Application of the Foregoing Arguments. And I just read book number 2, Adverse Heresies Against Heresies. So go to book number, wait a minute, book number 3, finished. So I finished book number 3. Okay. So like I said, I just read. I finished book number 3, Adverse Heresies Against Heresies. So go to book number 4, Adverse Heresies Against Heresies, and it's let me see. I read chapter 31, verse number 2. So let me click book number 4. Okay, chapter 31. Let me go down. Okay, 31, verse number 2, number 3. Chapter 31 is titled, We should not hastily impute as crimes to the men of old time those actions which the scripture has not condemned, but should rather seek in them types of things to come. An example of this in the incest committed by Lot. And read verse number 3. And it reads, And while these things were taking place, his wife remained in the territory of Sodor, no longer corruptible flesh, but a pillar of salt, which endures forever. And by those natural processes which appertain to the human race, indicating that the church also, which is the salt of the earth, has been left behind within the confines of the earth and subject to human sufferings. And while entire members are often taken away from it, the pillar of salt still endures. This thus typifying the foundation of the faith which maketh strong and sends forward children to their father. So I just read verse number 3. from chapter 31, which is titled, "We should not hastily impute as crimes to the men of old time those actions which the scripture has not condemned, but should rather seek in them types of things to come. An example of this in the incest committed by Lot. And I just read book number 4. Book number 4, and verses I raise against heresies. So let me click to book number 5. Book number 5, at verse I raise against heresies. Now, last time I read chapter 33, verse number 4. So let me scroll down. Chapter 34. Chapter 33. Chapter 33. Okay, verse 4, so I'll be on chapter 34. Verse 1. Chapter 34. Verse number 1. In chapter 34, it's titled, "He fortifies his opinions with regard to the temporal and earthly kingdom of the saints after their resurrection by the various testimonies of Isaiah, Ezekiel, Jeremiah, and Daniel. Also by the parable of the servants watching, to whom the Lord promised that he would minister." In verse number 1, it reads, "Then too, Isaiah himself has plainly declared that there shall be joy of this nature at the resurrection of the just, when he says, the dead shall rise again. Those too who are in the tomb shall arise, and those who are in the earth shall rejoice. For the dew from thee is health to them." And this again, Ezekiel also says, "Behold, I will open your tombs and will bring you forth out of your graves, when I will draw my people from the sepulchres, and I will put breath in you, and ye shall live, and I will place you on your own land. And ye shall know that I am the Lord." And again, the same speaks thus, "These things saith the Lord, I will gather Israel from all nations, whither they have been driven, and I shall be sanctified in them in the sight of the sons of the nation. And they shall dwell in their own land, which I gave to my servant Jacob. And they shall dwell in it in peace, and they shall build houses and plant vineyards and dwell in hope. When I shall cause judgments to fall among all who have dishonored them, among those who encircle them round about, and they shall know that I am the Lord their God, and the God of their fathers. Now I have shown a short time ago that the church is the seed of Abraham, and for this reason, that we may know that he who in the New Testament raises up from the stones children unto Abraham is he who will gather according to the Old Testament those that shall be saved from all the nations. Jeremiah says, "Behold, the days come, saith the Lord, that they shall no more say, the Lord liveth, who led the children of Israel from the north and from every region whither they have been driven. He will restore them to their own land, which he gave to their fathers." So I read verse number 1, chapter 34, title, "He fortifies his opinions with regard to the temporal and earthly kingdom of the saints after their resurrection by the various testimonies of Isaiah, Ezekiel, Jeremiah, and Daniel, also by the parable of the servants watching, to whom the Lord promised that he would minister. And I just read book number 5 at versus Heresies against heresies. So let me click over to Church Fathers, and I'm going to continue my reading. The Shepherd of Hermas. And I'm clicking over to the Shepherd of Hermas, and I'm going to read the Roberts Donaldson English translation. So let me scroll down to the third book, Similitudes. Okay, the third book, Similitudes. All right, where I'm at. Third book, Similitude. Seventh Similitude. Seventh Similitude. Okay. The seventh Similitude. Okay. It was just one chapter. The seventh Similitude. So go to the eighth Similitude. Okay. Okay. The eighth Similitude. Like I said, we're on the Shepherd of Hermas, the third book, Similitude, the eighth Similitude, chapter 1. It's 11 chapters. And I'm reading chapter 1, and the eighth Similitude is titled, The Sins of the Elect and of the Penitent are of many kinds, but all will be rewarded according to the measure of their repentance and good works. Chapter 1. He showed me a large willow tree overshadowing plains and mountains, and under the shade of this willow had assembled all those who were called by the name of the Lord. And a glorious angel of the Lord, who was very tall, was standing beside the willow, having a large pruning knife. And he was cutting little twigs from the willow and distributing them among the people that were overshadowed by the willow. And the twigs which he gave them were small, about a cubit, as it were, in length. And after they had all received the twigs, the angel laid down the pruning knife. And that tree was sound, as I had seen it at first. And I marveled within myself, saying, How is the tree sound, after so many branches have been cut off. And the shepherd said to me, do not be surprised if the tree remains sound after so many branches were lopped off. But wait, and when you shall have seen everything, then it will be explained to you what it means. The angel who had distributed the branches among the people again asked them from them, and in the order in which they had received them were they summoned to him, and each one of them returned his branch. And the angel of the Lord took and looked at them. From some he received the branches withered and moth-eaten. Those who returned branches in that state, the angel of the Lord ordered to stand apart. Others again returned them withered, but not moth-eaten. And these he ordered to stand apart, and others returned them half withered. And these stood apart, and others returned their branches half withered, and having cracks in them. And these stood apart, and others returned their branches green, and having cracks in them. And these stood apart, and others returned their branches, one half withered, and the other green. And these stood apart, and others brought their branches 2/3 green, and the remaining third withered. And these stood apart, and others returned them 2/3 withered, and 1/3 green. And these stood apart, and others returned their branches nearly all green. The smallest part only, the top, being withered, but they had cracks in them. And these stood apart, and of others very little was green, but the remaining parts withered. And these stood apart, and others came bringing their branches green, as they had received them from the angel. And the majority of the crowd returned branches of their kind. And with these the angel was exceedingly pleased. And these stood apart, and others returned their branches green, and having offshoots. And these stood apart. And with these the angel was exceedingly delighted. And others returned their branches green, and with offshoots. And the offshoots had some fruit, as it were. And those men whose branches were found to be of that kind were exceedingly joyful. And the angel was exultant because of them. And the shepherd also rejoiced greatly because of them. So I just read chapter 1. The 8th similitude title. The sins of the elect and of the penitent are of many kinds, but all will be rewarded according to the measure of their repentance and good works. And I just read the 3rd book titled Similitude from the Shepherd of Hermas. And I was reading from the Robert Donaldson English translation. So let me click over to St. Ignatius. to Smyrna. Chapter 9. Okay. I had to make so I'm finna read Saint Ignatius of Antioch to the Smyrnaeans, chapter 10. I'm reading the long version, chapter 10. And again, I'm reading St. Ignatius of Antioch to the Smyrnaeans. I'm reading chapter 10, long version. And chapter 10 is titled, Acknowledgement of Their Kindness. And it reads, Ye have done well in receiving Philo and Gaius and Agathopus, whom being the servants of Christ, have followed me for the sake of God, and who greatly bless the Lord in your behalf, because ye have in every way refreshed them. None of those things which ye have done to them shall be passed by without being reckoned unto you. The Lord grant to you that ye may find mercy of the Lord in that day. May my spirit be for you in my bonds, which ye have not despised or been ashamed of. Wherefore neither shall Jesus Christ, our perfect hope, be ashamed of you. And I read the long version, chapter 10. St. Ignatius of Antioch to the Smyrnaeans. All right, let me click back over. Like I said, I read chapter 10, the long version. Okay, St. Polycarp, Bishop of Smyrna, the Epistle of Polycarp to the Philippians. I finished that, so let me write that. St. Polycarp, Bishop of Smyrna. So, like I said, I've already read St. Polycarp, Bishop of Smyrna, the Epistle of Polycarp to the Philippians. I finished that. So I'm reading now the martyrdom of Polycarp. The martyrdom of Polycarp. And I'm going to read the Roberts Donaldson English translation. The encyclical epistle of the church at Smyrna concerning the martyrdom of St. Polycarp. The church of God which sojourns at Smyrna, to the church of God sojourning in Philomelium, and to all the congregations of the Holy and Catholic Church in every place. Mercy, peace, and love from God the Father and our Lord Jesus Christ be multiplied. Chapter 3. And chapter 3 is titled, The Constancy of Germanicus, the death of Polycarp is demanded. For the devil did indeed invent many things against them. But thanks be to God, he could not prevail over all. For the most noble Germanicus strengthened the timidity of others by his own patience, and fought heroically with the wild beasts. For when the proconsul sought to persuade him and urged him to take pity upon his age, he attracted the wild beast towards himself and provoked it, being desirous to escape all the more quickly from an unrighteous and impious world. But upon this, the whole multitude, marveling at the nobility of mind displayed by the devout and godly race of Christians, cried out, Away with the atheists! Let Polycarp be sought out. So I just read chapter 3, titled, The Constancy of Germanicus, the death of Polycarp is demanded. And I just read the martyrdom of Polycarp. And I was reading the Roberts Donaldson English translation. Saint Justin Martyr. Okay, on the resurrection. Chapter 10. Oh, okay. Chapter 10. Oh, okay. Okay, I finished chapter 10. Fragments of the lost work of Justin on the resurrection. So I read chapter 10. That was the last chapter. So let me click back over. Okay, Robert Donaldson, English translate on the sole governance of God. I'm going to have to rewrite that. Chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, chapter 4, chapter 5, chapter 6. It's 6 chapters, but they long. So like I said, Saint Justin Martyr. Fragments of the lost works of Justin on the resurrection. Finished that. Chapter 10 was the last book. It was the last chapter, so I finished that. So now I'm on Saint Justin Martyr. On the sole governance of God. Chapter 1. Object of the author. And it reads, although human nature at first received a union of intelligence and safety to discern the truth, and the worship due to the one Lord of all, yet envy, inseminating the excellence of human greatness, turned men away to the making of idols. And this superstitious custom, after continuing for a long period, is handed down to the majority as if it were natural and true. It is the part of a lover of man, or rather of a lover of God, to remind men who have neglected it of that which they ought to know. For the truth is of itself sufficient to show forth by means of those things which are contained under the pole of heaven, the order instituted by him who has created them. But forgetfulness, having taken possession of the minds of men through the long suffering of God, has acted recklessly in transferring to mortals the name which is applicable to the only true God, and from the few the infection of sin spread to the many who were blinded by popular usage to the knowledge of that which was lasting and unchangeable. For the men of former generation who instituted private and public rights in honor of such as were more powerful, caused forgetfulness of the Catholic faith to take possession of their posterity. But I, as I have just stated, along with a God-loving mind, shall employ the speech of one who loves man, and set it before those who have intelligence, which all ought to have, who are privileged to observe the administration of the universe, so that they should worship unchangeably him who knows all things. This I shall do, not by mere display of words, but by altogether using demonstration drawn from the old poetry in Greek literature, and from writings very common amongst all. For from these, the famous men who have handed down idol worship as law to the multitude shall be taught and convicted by their own poets and literature of great ignorance. So I just read chapter 1, title, Object of the Author. And I just read On the Sole Government of God, St. Justin Martyr. And I was reading the Robert Donaldson English translation. Now, continue my reading. I had to write down. Saint Athanasius, the Bishop of Alexandria, in his 39th festal letter, Easter letter, banned all non-Christian writing. So I'm going to go to this website, ntcanon.org, the development of the canon of the New Testament. And it reads, Athanasius of Alexandria, born 293 Common Era, Alexandria, and died May 2nd, 373 Common Era in Alexandria. Saint Athanasius, theologian, ecclesiastical statesman, and Egyptian national leader, was the chief defender of Christian orthodoxy in the 4th century. Battle against Arianism, the heresy that the Son of God was a creature of light, but not of the same substance as God the Father. Athanasius attended the Council of Nicaea, 325, and shortly thereafter became Bishop of Alexandria in 328. For the rest of his life, he was engaged in theological and political struggles with the emperor and with Arian churchmen, being banished from Alexandria several times. He wrote many important works, including his major theological treatise, The Life of St. Anthony, and 4 orations against the Arians, and a number of letters on theological, pastoral, and administrative topics. A Catholic encyclopedia article is online at St. Athanasius. A clear acknowledgement of the New Testament canon of 27 books appears in the 39th festal letter of Athanasius. Here, the threefold division of origin, or Eusebius, is abandoned as springs of salvation. There are only the 27 writings in which the doctrine of piety is proclaimed. Over against them are set the Apocrypha, fabricated by the heretics. Only the Didact and Shepherd of Herman, besides a few Old Testament Apocrypha, are permitted for reading by those newly received into the church, since the fathers have so appointed. But these writings are not canonical. We may, however, infer from the concession that the 2 writings mentioned still enjoy very great esteem. For a visual summary of Athanasius' opinion, see the cross-reference table. There is no question that the emphasis on the exclusiveness and finality of the canon is closely connected with Athanasius' total theological conception, anti-heretical and Bible-related, over and above that it has to be observed that precisely in the years after 362, his concern was directed towards the unity of the Orthodox Church, and hence that for him a uniform canon was also a necessity. It is important that Athanasius turned sharply against all apocrypha, so that the lines are drawn as sharply as possible between canonical and apocryphal writings, whatever they may be in terms of their origin, their content, or their age. The apocryphal are downgraded as heretical and therefore excluded from any ecclesiastical use. We cannot establish what effect Athanasius' letter had outside of Egypt. We may conjecture that it advanced the recognition of the 7 Catholic epistles in the East, but it could not remove the opposition to the revelation of John. This book only achieved its firm place in the canon of the Greek Church in the 10th century. The 39th festal letter of Athanasius in 367 Common Era. It was an ancient custom for the Bishop of Alexandria to write, if possible, every year soon after Epiphany, a so-called festal epistle to the Egyptian churches and monasteries under his authority, in which he informed them of the date of Easter and the beginning of the Lenten fast. By fixing the date of Easter, this yearly epistle fixed also the dates of all Christian festivals of the year. In view of the reputation of Alexandrian scholars who were devoted to astronomical calculation, it is not surprising that other parts of Christendom should eventually come to rely on the Egyptian church for information concerning the date of Easter, made available to the Western church through the Bishop of Rome and to the Syrian church through the Bishop of Antioch. From Athanasius' 39th Festal letter in the year 367. Since, however, we have spoken of the heretics as dead, but of ourselves as possessors of the divine writings unto salvation, and since I am afraid that, as Paul has written to the Corinthians, 2 Corinthians 11, chapter, the 3rd verse, some guileless person may be led astray from their purity and holiness by the craftiness of certain men, and begin thereafter to pay attention to other books, the so-called apocryphal writings, being deceived by their possession of the same names as the genuine books. I therefore exhort you to patience when, out of regard to the church's need and benefit, I mention in my letter matters with which you are acquainted. It being my intention to mention these matters, I shall, for the commendation of my venture, follow the example of the evangelist Luke and say, Luke, the 1st chapter, verses 1 through 4. Since some have taken in hand to set it, to set in order for themselves the so-called apocrypha, and to mingle them with the God-inspired scriptures, concerning which we have attained to a sure persuasion, according to what the original eyewitnesses and ministers of the word had delivered unto our fathers. I also, having been urged by true brethren, and having investigated the matter from the beginning, have decided to set forth for order the writings that have been put in the canon, that have been handed down and confirmed as divine, in order that everyone who has been led astray may condemn his seducer, and that everyone who has remained stainless may rejoice, being again reminded of that. Athanasius now in the first place enumerates the scriptures of the Old Testament. He then proceeds, continuing, I must without hesitation mention the scriptures of the New Testament. They are the following: the 4 Gospels, according to Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. After them, the Acts of the Apostles, and the 7 so-called Catholic epistles of the Apostles, namely 1 of James, 2 of Peter, then 3 of John, and after these, 1 of Jude. In addition, there are 14 epistles of the Apostle Paul, written in the following order: the first to the Romans, then 2 to the Corinthians, and then after these, the 1 to the Galatians, following it, the 1 to the Ephesians, thereafter 1 to the Philippians, and the 1 to the Colossians, and 2 to the Thessalonians, and epistle to the Hebrews, and then immediately 2 to Timothy, 1 to Titus, and lastly the 1 to Philemon, yet further the revelation of John. These are the springs of salvation, in order that he who is thirsty may fully refresh himself with the words contained in them. In them alone is the doctrine of piety proclaimed. Let no one add anything to them or take anything away from them. But for the sake of greater accuracy, I add, being constrained to write, that there are also other books besides these, which have not indeed been put in the canon, but have been appointed by the fathers as reading matter for those who have just come forward and wish to be instructed in the doctrine of piety: the wisdom of Solomon, the wisdom of Sirach, Esther, Judah, Tobias, the so-called teacher, Didac of the apostle, and the shepherd. And although, beloved, the former are in the canon and the latter serve as reading matter, yet mention is nowhere made of the apocrypha. Rather, they are a fabrication of the heretics, who write them down when it pleases them, and generally assign to them an early date of composition, in order that they may be able to draw upon them as supposedly ancient writings, and have in them occasion to deceive the guileless. Now I'm gonna continue my reading. The last thing I'm gonna read is the Panarean, the Greek Panarean Latin. So let me find it over here. Okay, where I'm at now on the Panarium. Okay, this is where I'm at. The Panarium, Greek, Panarium, Latin, translated mean bread basket. Okay, I'm on book number 2. I'm on the first section of book number 2, section 4, part 64. I'm on part 64. And part 64 is against origin, also called Adamastus. And it's 1:1 through 72:9. Now, last time I read 12:1 through 16:9. So let me scroll. I read 12:1. Okay, I see it. Okay, now 12:1 through 16:9. That was the an epenum of Origen's arguments from the writings of Methodius. So that was 12:1 through 16:9. Okay, so now it's let me see, Proclus on, okay, Proclus on word 17. Okay, so I see. Okay, so where I'm gonna be at now is gonna be 17:1. Okay, and that's 18:5. Okay, so this is where I'm at. I'm on 17:9. Okay, 17:1. That's where we at. Proclus on words. All right, let me scoot up here so I can see. Okay. Okay, Proclus. Yeah, Proclus on words. 7 starting at 17:1 through 18:5. And it reads, so much by way of summary of the points which Origen endeavored to make in his treatise on resurrection in proof of a very complex hypothesis. But consider too the points which follow from these. It remains to take up the additional text from Scripture so that, like an image with all parts of it in proportion, this presentation may thereby gain symmetry and be fully framed as a whole, lacking nothing that contributes to its shape and beauty. We must therefore explain why the Scriptures which enable one to perfect a better proof agree with the above. For if one is capable of a precise understanding of this and falls short in nothing that is needed, he will realize that the resurrection may not be taken to apply to this body, which cannot remain unchanged forever, but that it must apply to the spiritual body, in which the very same form that is even now preserved in this body will be retained, so that, as has also been said by Origen, each of us will be the same even in appearance. For he proposed that the resurrection will be as follows: since the material body is mutable he says, and since it never remains even briefly the same, but is increased and diminished in the form characteristic of the man, by which his appearance is preserved, we must of necessity expect the resurrection to be reserved for the form alone. Unless you say, I don't understand. Origen's treatment of this was difficult. I shall explain the sense of this more clearly to you. Here, you have surely seen an animal, skin, or something else of the sort, filled with water in such a way that if it is emptied of a little of its water and then filled with a little, it always shows the same shape. For the container's contents must conform to the shape of the container. Well then, suppose the water is leaking out. If one adds on an amount of water equal to that which is spilled and does not allow the skin to be entirely empty of water, unless that occurs, the added water must look like the water which was there before, since the container of the inflowing and the outflowing water is the same. Now, if one chooses to compare the body to this, he will not be put to shame. For what is brought in by the food in place of the flesh which has been eliminated will likewise be changed to the shape of the form which contains it. And the part of it that is dispersed to the eyes looks like the eyes. The part that is dispersed to the face looks like the face. And the part that is dispersed to the other members looks like them. Thus, everyone looks the same, though the flesh in them is not their original flesh, but the flesh of the form whose shape the incoming was given. Now, if we are not the same in body, even for a few days, but are the same in the form of the body, only this is stable from its creation. All the more, neither will we be the same in the flesh then, but we shall be the same in the form which now and always is preserved and remains in us. For as, although the body is not the same now, its appearance is kept the same because it has the same form. So, though the body will not be the same then either, the form will be manifest, grown more glorious, no longer in a perishable but in an impassible and spiritual body, as Jesus was. Okay, let me see. Okay, let me see what happens. Body as Jesus was at the transfiguration when he ascended the mountain with Peter, and as were the bodies of Moses and Elijah who appeared to him. Okay. All right, let me scroll a little bit here. So much for this. This, in sum, is the sense of Origen's doctrines. But suppose that one who doubts this urges the body of Christ. For he is called the firstborn from the dead, and the first fruits of them that slept. And says that we must expect the resurrection of everyone's bodies to be like the resurrection of Christ, so that God will bring them which sleep in Jesus with him. In the same way that Christ was raised. But he will go on to say, Jesus' body has risen even with the flesh it had, and with its bones, as Thomas was convinced, we for our part shall say. But Christ's body was not by the will of a man, of pleasure, accompanying sleep, conceived in iniquities and begotten in sin. It was of the Holy Spirit, the power of the highest and the virgin, while yours is the product of sleep, pleasure, and dirt. And thus the sage Sirach said, when a man dies, it is said, he shall inherit creeping things, snakes, and worms. And David, in the 87th Psalm said, wilt thou do wonders for the dead, or shall physicians rise up and confess thee? Wilt thou mercy be told in the grave, and thou faithfulness in destruction? Will thy wondrous works be known in the dark, and thy righteousness in the forgotten land? And for one who cares to gather them from the scriptures. There are other passages of the same kind. Let us omit them, lest by mentioning them all, I make my discourse many times longer than what has been said. So I'm going to stop right there. So, like I said, I just read the Panarian, Greek, Panarian, Latin. Translated in both languages to mean bread basket. Book number 2, the first section of book number 2, section 4, part 64. And the whole thing is 1 through 72, 9. And I just read 17:1 through 18:5. the University of Chicago. See, Almighty Vice Lord Nation. Conservative Vice Lord. You know, OG and Joe. See, all that reading I just done. See, a lot of the sorority fraternity don't even know. They don't even know about what I just read. All them verses and scriptures and all the about the church fathers, about the early church. They don't even know about before the first century. See what I'm talking about? They don't even know about before the first century. When you be talking about BC, before Christ. You know? They don't even know. See, the sorority and fraternity, they just, all this stuff, way back when they started the fraternity. Thomas Jefferson in the Fat Hat Club. They started it here in the United States of America, the fraternity. Not saying that over in Europe and things like this, but here in the United States of America, they started it, fraternity. Thomas Jefferson was one of them. Not by himself. The Fat Hat Club. You can't be a club by yourself. Started the fraternities. And then later on, the fraternity started the sororities. There ain't nothing official about no sorority, no fraternity. They don't do no more haze, do all this hazing and horseplay on the campus, on these college campuses. Committing crimes, some very despicable and disgusting crimes. Oh yeah, on the campus, been committed by the sororities and the fraternities. You haven't even looked around the United States of America in court cases around this country. You haven't even looked around the United States of America court cases around this country. What the sororities and the fraternities, the crimes that the sororities and fraternities have committed and are committing on campus as well as off campus. Going around trying to impose Western esotericism and Western mystical tradition, and then on the other side, exotericism. All that Gnosticism and all that anthroposophic theosophy, all that, the Enlightenment, Hermetism, the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, Rosicrucianism, Freemasonry, the occult, Gnosticism, Neoplatonism, rejecting knowledge. That's what the Theology and Religious Studies Department. Rejecting knowledge. That's what it means. See, a lot of these sororities and fraternities, the members, and then the alumni. See, when you talk about the Theology and Religious Studies Department, you also have the Behavior Science Department, Social Science, Behavior and Social Science Department. You also have the Law Department. You also have your Medical Department, deal with health. You also have your Art Department. You also have your Business Department. You have your IT Department. and a lot of them students, and a lot of those members of the sorority and the fraternity, a lot of the people that's in the alum, they not proficient. They not knowledgeable of theology and religious studies. What I just got through reading, a lot of people in the sorority fraternity, they ain't know what I was talking about, including the alumni. So like I said, the Almighty Vice Lord Nation, Conservative Vice Lord, see OG Joe. Don't let the sorority and the fraternity make a fool at you. That's the reason why I do my reading. See, if I'm familiar with it, I ain't got to know everything, but I know what you're talking. When you say church fathers, yeah, I know what you're talking. I can refer to it. I know what you're talking about. Saint Justin Martyr, yeah, I know what you mean. I know. I heard what you said. Saint Irenaeus, the Bishop of Lyons, at versus Araces. Yes, I'm familiar with what you're talking about. I heard what you said. I know exactly what you're talking about. I don't have to know it verse by verse. I don't know book. I've read some passages of at verse. I know what you're talking about. Saint Ignatius of Antioch. I know who you're talking about. I know what you're talking about. I'm familiar with it. I know what you're talking about. It ain't necessary that you gotta know every damn thing, but if you're familiar with it, I know what you're talking about. So what? I know the Apocrypha. I know what you're talking about. I know what you're talking about. I done heard about it. The Dead Sea Scroll. I heard about it. I know what you're talking about. I'm familiar with it. I heard about it. I know. I can go on. I can go to the library. I can go online. I know what you're talking about. See, it's important. When I do my read, that's the reason why I do my read. Because I know. I know from personal experience. I know that the people in the sorority fraternity, they don't know. They not familiar. See? They not familiar with adversus Heraces, including the alumni. They not familiar with the Panarin. They not familiar with that. Saint Athanasius, the Bishop of Alexandria, banned all non-Christian writing. Banned it. 39th Festal letter, Easter letter. I read it. I know what you're talking about. I read it. I know exactly what you're talking about. I read it. And I continue to read it. And I know the reason why non-Christian writing was banned. Because of all that Gnostic theologian writing that nag in my library. Banned non-Christian writing. It's banned. Don't even waste your time saying nothing about it. Ban non-Christian writing. So, like I said, I'm looking at the University of Chicago website. See, that's the reason why the Theology and Religious Studies Department, the PhD, the head of the department, not the sorority, not the fraternity, not the alumni in the sorority fraternity, the PhD, the head of the Department of Theology and Religious Studies. What was that you said? The material world is evil. Get somewhere and sit down before somebody knock you down. Because you're not talking about nothing you don't know what you're talking about. Rejected knowledge. Narcissism. Get somewhere and sit down before somebody knock you down. You're going to provoke somebody. You're going to either make somebody hurt you or you're going to make somebody kill you. What was that stupid stuff you said? Talking about a divine spark being delivered from his earthly vessel. What, you trying to rap or something? The divine spark from his earthly vessel. Deliver the divine spark from his earthly vessel. You trying to say some kind of nursery rhyme or something. Whatever you trying to talk about, you need to get somewhere and sit down before somebody knock you down. You're going to make somebody either hurt you or you're going to make somebody kill you. Rejected knowledge. I'm telling you what's going to happen. You're going to either make somebody hurt you or make somebody kill you. You don't know what you're talking about. University of Chicago in the Chicago area, in the state of Illinois, and then you got the University of Illinois. You know, in the state of Chicago, you got 3 campuses. University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign, Chicago. Right, that's what it was. It was like, and then University of Springfield, University of Illinois Springfield. Really, I think they got 4 campuses. Because you got Springfield, then you got Illinois, you got Urbana-Champaign, then you got the one that's Urbana, Illinois. So it's like 4 campuses. But them not the only schools in the state of Illinois. See, the Almighty Vice Lord Nation. See, when people be coming up there to the state of Illinois, you come to the city of Chicago from all other places around the country and see all this stuff about some Western, this Western mystery tradition, this Western esotericism, and then this on the other side you got this exotericism. It's all rejecting knowledge. All rejecting knowledge. And then you got all this stuff where people try to take the Nagamon library. See, this is what the sorority and fraternity. And see, you got all these colleges and universities in the state of Illinois. And then you got these sororities and fraternities at these colleges and universities in the state of Illinois. These students, they be doing all this hazing. They be committing all kind of crimes on and off the campus. Trying to horseplay with other people. See, this is how the supreme gangsters thought they could get away. And how other people thought they could do the same thing. They thought they can get away with doing other people wrong. The sorority and fraternity. Just like out there in California, in the city of Los Angeles, with this blood gang, Crip gang. See, out there in Los Angeles, California, the Black Princestones, the Bloods. But see, in Chicago, in the state of Illinois, nah. They talking about some Crip gang. Nah. See, all it is when they found it in 1945, the Nagamon library. Because see, they was already to see the sorority fraternity going around with this Western esotericism, this Western mystery tradition, and then on the other side, this exotericism. They was already doing it. Everybody all this talking about some Freemasonry. They was already doing it. But then in 1945, the little farm boy over there in Nagamon East found that Nagamon library. Then the scholars at the college and university all around the world, the people in academia, they found out about it. And they've been using and misusing the Nagamon library ever since. It ain't like they ain't already know about it now. They already knew about Gnosticism. But it was when they found that Nagamon library, that little farm boy found that. You ain't found out there. You just found out some leftover Gnostic theologian writing. Some leftover rejected knowledge. It's still rejected knowledge. So out there in Los Angeles, California, talking about some bounty hunter blood, talking about some Pyru blood, and all that other nonsense. But see, up in Chicago, them Black Prince don't know the Almighty Vice Lord Nation. The history of the city of Chicago. Talking about some supreme gangsters should have never got away this long. Should have never got away this long. But I tell you this, from this point on, nah. You ain't gonna never do that. You ain't gonna never get away with trying to use and misuse no Nagamon library. You ain't gonna never get away with trying to use no Western mystery tradition, no Western esotericism, no exoteric. In the Catholic Church is right. The Catholic Church right. The Roman Catholic Church and all Catholic Church, the Eastern Orthodox Catholic Church, the Oriental Orthodox Catholic Church, all Catholic churches are working toward reunification. All Catholic churches is right. All Catholic churches is right. All Catholic churches are working toward reunification. You ain't gonna never get away. Never. You ain't gonna never get away. Never. Talking about some supreme gangster should have never got away this long. Talking about some black gangster new breed should have never got away this long. Should have never got away. You ain't gonna never get away. Never. So like I said, all these colleges and universities, and they go for in the surrounding states, whether anywhere else, the sorority fraternity, they ain't nobody to be worried about. They just be going around lying and trying to use violence to persuade people. You ain't gonna get away with that. You ain't gonna never get away. Never. Where my headphones at? Oh, I left them on the table. Hold on, just for a split second. Just for a second, I left my headphones on the table. Hold on. I left my headphones on the table. Hold on. Lord. CVL be the squad, boy. Vice Lord. CVL be the squad, boy. Vice Lord. CVL be the squad, boy. That getting up that chicken, boy. Be the squad, boy. Vice Lord. CVL be the squad, boy. Vice Lord. CVL be the squad, boy. We been stacking up that chicken, boy. And the bless the up here. This me. To me. The rat. Put on there his art. His art. His art. Mighty Bond. With the CVL be the squad boy, Vice Lord. CVL be the squad boy, Vice Lord. CVL be the squad boy, Vice Lord. And we be racking up that chicken boy, Vice Lord. CVL be the squad boy, Vice Lord. CVL be the squad boy, Vice Lord. CVL be the squad boy, Vice Lord. And we be racking up that chicken. Day. They come down to that. Since pow! That man, Lord. CVL be the squad boy, Vice Lord. CVL be the squad boy, Vice Lord. CVL be the squad boy, Vice Lord. And we stay racking up that chicken boy, Vice Lord. CVL be the squad boy, Vice Lord. CVL be the squad boy. CVL be the squad boy, Vice Lord. And we stay racking up that chicken boy. Ooh, boy, boy, boy. Ooh. Black and gold. Black and gold. Black and gold. Came from Pepperlow. All the old heads came before me. Vice Lord Nation Spark Black Business. To it. Black and gold. Black and gold. Black and gold. Black and gold. It all started with the old heads. Black and gold, black and gold, black and gold, black and gold, black and gold. What's wrong then? You say you got a problem? Black and gold, black and gold, black and gold, black and gold, black and gold. That was on me, man. I was scrolling. I forgot. I had put the wrong thing in the search. I don't know what. Instead of putting Wild Bunch, I put I put the wrong thing in the search bar, man. That's on me. That's on me. Had to make sure it's still turned down. So like I've been saying, man, hey, it's coming. CVL Incorporated. It's coming back. It's going to be revitalized. Being revitalized. Bootstrap Incorporated. Being revitalized. So you be on the lookout. It's coming. They're going to always acknowledge and recognize, you know what I'm saying, the dirty sheets and the wailing sheep. Going to always be recognized. Going to always be acknowledged, man. No Western mystery tradition. No Western esotericism. No exotericism. Wasn't no reason for black men, women, for no human being on God, on this planet, on this earth, to suffer because of that. And then in the 1945 discovery of the Nagmar Library, it ain't no reason for no human being to suffer. No reason at all. It ain't no reason for any human being to be victimized. No man, woman, or child anywhere on this earth, on this planet, in this universe, to suffer and be victimized. No reason. It ain't no reason for no human being to be self-destructive or to be destructive. None whatsoever. None whatsoever. It ain't no reason for wildlife. There ain't no reason for nature. There ain't no reason for the environment. There ain't no reason for the North and South Pole to be destroyed. No reason. It ain't no reason for poaching. It ain't no reason for no poaching. None. It ain't no reason for poaching. None. No reason. Got a little time. I know the NFL season, football season, everything. But I still want to get my reading in. our government, the United States government, our government, trying to deal with upcoming elections and everything, the presidential election, and the Democratic leader in the presidential race, which is our current president of the United States, President Joe Biden, and his running mate, his vice president Kamala Harris. That's on the Democratic ticket. Now on the Republican ticket, you have some individuals who are running, and you also have President Donald Trump, who is also running, and currently he's the leader in the Republican race, and even after the second debate, didn't really just make too much of it really wasn't too much of a change in the Republican voters' choice. Even after the second debate, that President Donald Trump didn't even participate in. But after that second debate, it wasn't, according to the polls, it wasn't pretty much no change. President Donald Trump still the leader. I'm talking about a large percentage lead in the lead on the Republican side. And so, but it's also been another poll that says that the overall voters in America right now is like our current president, President Biden, it still has a percentage lead according to the poll now. According to the poll, I think it's 51. I think it's like a 51% lead, and I think President Donald Trump, 49. So, it's like a close, but still, President Biden is in the lead. And so, that's your choice, irregardless of what other people's opinion is. President Donald Trump facing a lot of legal issues, and irregardless of the legal issues that he's facing, irregardless of those legal issues that President Donald Trump is facing, his supporters still supporting him. Now on the other side, the Democratic Party, they continue to throw their support behind President Biden. And so, it's your the voters' choice, So, but I think by the time next year, I think it's gonna change more toward President Biden, because the more legal trouble that President Trump has, it's just it's gonna make a difference. It really is. It's gonna make a difference. And then when one thing you don't know, you don't never forget in a presidential election, the Electoral College, is when President Biden runs to be the president. Don't forget the Electoral College. And I don't see President Trump winning in the Electoral College. I don't. Not just in popular vote, but in the Electoral College. I don't see President Donald Trump winning in the Electoral College. So, Then, just like the situation we having to deal with right now, the House of Representatives, the Speaker of the House, and then what took place, See, there again, that's the Electoral College, the House of Representatives and the Senate, the House, the Electoral College. Later on, just like Representative McCarthy get removed from the Speaker House, the Speaker of the House, will see the Electoral College. See what I'm talking about? This how it's gonna go. Hey, it's gonna be people who ain't gonna like what other people did and all this stuff about trying to support Trump and all this. It's like it's being called. It's like some kind of cult. You know what I'm saying? It's like some kind of cult following or something. And that gonna I guarantee it's gonna have an effect on the election. I guarantee on the Electoral College what happened about this Speaker of the House. I guarantee it's gonna have an effect on the presidential election. The Electoral College is gonna have a definite effect in the House of Representatives as well as in the Senate. I guarantee Donald Trump, President Trump, would not get the votes in the Electoral College. I don't see it. See, that's what happens. That's how it's gonna happen. See, when you do something like that, it's gonna have an effect on the presidential election. When the presidential election work, I guarantee that Electoral College, that's what's gonna happen. Stuff like this, and see, they still ain't picked nobody. But you got two major candidates. I think Representative Jordan, and then I think Representative Scalise. Yeah, they're not saying they the only one, but I think they the two probable candidates that people, that the representatives are looking at now that Representative McCarthy has been voted out. But that's how it's gonna go. It's gonna have a definite effect on the Electoral College when the presidential election next year. Definitely. Yeah, okay. Well, yeah, right. Let me go over here and check out a newspaper. And right, the current one of the biggest things in current events around the world, we know that over there in Israel, we had an serious situation going on, and disappointed that things like that happen. Really, really disappointed, man. Human beings on this earth. See, we have a United Nations. Let's not forget, we have a United Nations, and that's what the United Nations for. That's what the United Nations for. It's for all human beings. All human beings. Every single human being on this planet, on this earth, is represented at the United Nations. Irregardless of what your belief, your faith, irregardless about ethnicity and linguistics, it don't matter. Every human being on this planet, on this earth, is represented at the United Nations. And not saying that the situation in Israel is the only situation, because it's not. It's a lot of wars and conflicts all over this planet. And that's another disappointing incident or war that's happening. I mean, it's happening right before our eyes. You know what I mean? Not saying it's the only one. But when you see something, and when you already in the process of trying to work on all these other wars and conflicts, and then while you're in the process of trying to work on those conflicts and wars, then this one break out. You know, it's a disappointing thing. It really is. But I'm still hopeful that, like the United Nations and nations all around the world trying to work toward peace for all people on this planet, on this earth, continue to pray and just continue to have well wishes for everybody on this planet, on this earth. Let me look over here at the Taz Russian newspaper. Let me look over here, man, because the military operation in Ukraine. And it's not too much of a change. No, it's coming wintertime. It's already the fall, and then after the fall, you know it's going to be winter. See, when you read the newspapers, Fox and CNN, they don't give you the details on how the Russian military is in fighting this war with the Ukrainians, and the Ukrainians are losing not only equipment, but they losing a lot of men. They losing a lot of their personnel and equipment. So I mean, it don't look like it's too much of a change. In the war in Ukraine, and winter time is coming, so it don't look like it's too much of a change. But right before I get ready to end my video, I gotta get one in. I gotta get me a joke in. I gotta get one in. A lot of evidence of what people did in the past, and because of things people did in the past, we do things today. And so it been says they had some evidence that about 8,000 years ago, about 8,000 years ago, and probably before that, people, they found evidence that people were looking at themselves, looking at themselves, seeing how they look, and so they said they found evidence of some mirrors. And they found this evidence in, I'm talking about 8,000 years ago. That's a long time ago. And they found this evidence over in Anatolia, South Central, which is modern day Turkey. About 8,000 years ago. They found evidence. But that's not the only place they found. They found evidence all over the world of this, of this activities, of these what we refer to as mirrors in various places. But people can look at themselves in the water. And so like I said, most people in the past could look at themselves in the water, But from that concept, if you can see yourself in the water, the human mind, went from water, seeing yourself in the water, to seeing yourself on stones or rocks, And so like this, and then from there, other things like that. And so like you say they found some like evidence earlier, evidence of something like that, where these objects, and they were used as an object for people to see themselves. And so we do that stuff today, And so like I said, I had to get one in. I had to tell a joke before I end my video. You know, but you know, I'm a mirror seller, and I sell mirrors. Mirror for sale. Mirror for sale. I sell mirrors. You can see yourself. Come on over here. Hey, girl. I sell mirror. I'm a mirror seller. Come on. I know you want to see yourself. You want to look good for your boyfriend. Come on. I sell mirror. Come on. Come on, man. Come on. Come on, man. I sell mirror, man. Come on over here and buy that mirror. So your girlfriend can look good for you. You want your girl to look pretty for you. So come on over here. Come on over here and buy this mirror. Come on, buy this mirror. Mirror for sale. Mirror sale. I'm a mirror seller. Come on, buy this mirror. Come on, girl, buy this mirror. You know you want to buy this mirror. Come on over here and buy this mirror. You know you want to buy this doggone mirror. Get on over here. Get on over here. Mirror for sale. Want to buy this mirror so you can see yourself. Come on, buy this mirror. That would people. Come on. How much money you got? Well, how much you got? Oh, you ain't got enough. Come on, buy this mirror. What you gotta have more than that? What you trying to give me? Man, you ain't finna give me no fish for no mirror. Get up out of here, man. I ain't finna take no fish for no mirror. Get up out of here. No, absolutely not. What you trying to do? What you trying to give me? For no? No, absolutely not. No, I'm not finna accept that for no mirror. No. The answer is no. Mirror for sale. Get out of here. Get out of here. Mirror for sale. Mirror. I sell mirrors. Come on, buy this mirror. Come on. Mirror for sale. I sell mirror. You know you want to see yourself. Come on, buy this mirror. Mirror for sale. You know you want to see yourself. Come on over here. What you got? What you trying to give me? What you trying to give me for the mirror? No, I ain't gonna sell that for no mirror. Get up out of here. Look at man. I'm gonna have to end this video, man. Man. Oh man. Oh Lord have mercy, man. Oh boy. Oh boy. Somebody trying to smash and grab, trying to rob me for my mirrors, man. They trying to smash and grab me for my mirrors. They done beat me over the head and everything, and with my own mirrors, man. They tried to kill me for my mirrors. Man, I'm gonna have to move to another location. But look here, I'm finna get ready to end today's video, the football game on. And until next time, y'all take care of yourself. Wish each and every one of your very best.